Sam? Sam, you okay?
Al?
You okay? Huh?
You must sleep with me.
Oh, we did it, Sam. Sam, what the hell am I doing in this uniform? What's going on, Sam?
I think... Come here.
Sam, what the hell's happening, huh? Oh, boy.
Hello everyone, this is Pico Entertainment and we're back again, and here now we have another video review, and we're going to take a look back on Quantum Leap. And with the upcoming reboot series, I thought it would be good to see what made the original series so great, and for me personally, one of the greatest television shows ever. Now there'll likely be spoilers for the show within this review, so just beware when going into this overall video. Now when talking about Quantum Leap, we have to go way back to 1989, where the show debuted in the US on the NBC network. Created by American television producer Donald P. Rosario, and taking inspiration from movies such as Heaven Can Wait and also series such as The Time Tunnel, the story of Quantum Leap was very much a science fiction premise set in a distant future, with physicist Dr. Sam Beckett believing that time travel is possible within somebody's timeline. He gains funding for his Quantum Leap project from the government, but after years of failure, the project is facing being shut down. In order to try and save it, Sam uses himself as a test subject by stepping into the partial accelerator. After regaining consciousness, he wakes up finding himself transferred into another person's body, but still retaining his own personality. He will discover that he's in another timeline set within the past. He's soon located by Admiral Al Calavici, who appears to Sam as a hologram. Al was set from the future as a lieutenant overseeing the Quantum Leap project. When he reunites with Sam, Al explains that he's from Sam's future, sent back to try and bring him into his own timeline. With the aid of the project supercomputer named Siggy, both deduce that the only way for Sam to return back is to, whatever identity he's in, correct something that went wrong in the past history. Once he does this, it would enable him to hopefully leap back into his own timeline. Over the course of the series, Sam continually leaps into different times, correcting past events, hoping that the next leap will finally bring him back home. Now, I simply love Quantum Leap so much, having so many fond memories of the show, and being based in the United Kingdom, I first came across it way back in the BBC 2 channel in 1990. It used to broadcast on Tuesday nights, and after all these many years later, I still believe it to be one of my most favourite shows ever. Now, there are so many reasons for this, but one of the biggest is that it's one of those shows that's bigger than the sum of its overall parts. It exceeds the original premise and ends up being a far more accessible and multi-layered series. So when I say this, we look at the original setup, which is clearly based in science fiction, and so many shows of this type would have stayed in that genre, getting lost in all of the science fiction elements, dealing with paradoxes and alternate timelines and causality and debates over destiny and fate. And yes, the show covers many of that throughout its run, but we also get far deeper themes of social issues, discrimination, racism, disability and sexism, and we would also get elements of comedy, romance, action and thriller, conspiracy and even supernatural. So as well as a science fiction series, it was also a human drama, a coming of age story with lots of heart and charm and emotion and warmth and depth. And the setup of Sam jumping into multiple timelines in different identities was so perfect because the show could cover all of these themes without becoming convoluted, and the mostly standalone structure of each episode. This was especially important when the show did deal with the far more serious issues, as it was able to treat them with the right amount of integrity. The episodic structure also meant that anybody could just jump into the show without any previous knowledge. All you needed was the show's recap, which told you exactly what Sam was trying to do, and you could just go on from there. So it was very rare in that it played to a certain formula, but it was also very versatile. You got something different every week, which kept it fresh and invigorating and also unpredictable. The core narrative of Sam trying to get back home gave you that instant hook, connecting you to the character, and you would tune in every week to see if he would ever make it back, and also which identity that he would go into next. And this was showcased with the classic oh boy stinger that we would always get at the end and beginning of each episode when Sam would make a leap into the next identity, and this was a classic way to engage the audience into each overall episode. And as Sam would make each different leap, there would always be an extra fascination as the show would actually cover historic events and historical figures and celebrities. So this type of element would always give the show a certain cultural resonance and relevance. Now there were so many standout episodes throughout the series, and my personal favourites include The Colour of Truth, which is very much a Driver Miss Daisy like story where we see Sam leaping into a black driver of an aging white lady, and this was one of the first episodes where the show would tackle racial issues and discrimination. We then have Jimmy, where Sam leaps into a body of a teenager with Down syndrome, a very touching and affectionate episode there. We had the stunning trilogy arc involving Sam leaping into different stages of a woman named Abigail who was accused of murder multiple times. We had the Leap Home parts 1 and 2, which was a great episode where Sam leaks back home but into his early life as a teenager and takes certain actions to stay with his family, but this comes at a price in the second episode where he finds himself in a platoon working alongside his brother during the Vietnam War. We then have MIA, where Al has to try to convince Sam to make his wife wait for him as he was waiting to come back from the Vietnam War. The Leap Back was absolutely hilarious, where we had the setup of Sam and Al actually switching places, and then we had the Lee Harvey Oswald episodes where Sam leaps into one of the most controversial figures of the 20th century. Now for all of the great qualities of this series, there are ultimately two reasons why it works and why it's truly a great show. And that is of course the casting of the two lead performers played by Scott Bakuka and Dean Stokwell. As Sam, Scott Bakuka proved himself to be one of television's most versatile actors, always convincing in whatever identity that he was in. As the lead character, he was constantly likeable and rootable all the way through. You simply endeared to Sam as he always persevered to do the right thing, and these qualities were very much essential for the main lead of a character like this. We then had the sadly late departed Dean Stokwell, who was equally as great as Al. He was very much the womanising, more extroverted character, the admiral in charge of trying to bring back Sam to his original timeline, and he was the perfect counterpoint for Sam, providing so much of the humour and was equally as likeable all the way through. And it was the great chemistry between the two characters that truly made the show. Their dynamic was absolutely fantastic. No matter how good or bad the episodes were, as long as Sam and Al were in the episode, it would always keep me watching no matter what. So without question, the on-screen chemistry between both Sam and Al is one of the best I've seen within all of television and also movies itself. Now in terms of the flaws within the show, I had very little issues with it. Now more critics will perhaps look back at some of the effects, which admittedly can be seen as dated, especially in the premiere episodes. The vision of the future isn't very convincing when we look back on it now. I also feel that the Eva Leaper arcs weren't quite fully as utilised as what they could have been, and to be honest, this is a fascinating concept in which we could have had a season-long antagonist, but they just didn't capitalise on it as what they should have done. Others will point to the flaws in terms of the time travel logic and mechanics, but it really didn't matter much, as what I've stated before, this really wasn't about the science fiction, more about the heart and the human story. We then have to talk about the series finale, where we see Sam leaping into a mining location with a figure who could be described as God, or the force that was sending Sam into different times. We see Sam performing the ultimate good deed by going back in time and convincing Al's wife to wait for him to come back from the Vietnam War, reuniting Al with his loved one, but Sam paying the ultimate price as he would carry on leaping through history, and then the episode ends with us finding out that Sam never truly finds his way back home. So whilst there was a certain poignancy and sadness towards this, it was such a dour note to go out on and such an underwhelming conclusion, and I just felt that it did the whole series a massive disservice. We spent so many years following Sam throughout this journey, helping out all of these people, performing all of these great deeds on all these different adventures, only to see him not make it home, and it just felt a bit deflating and, to be honest, a bit depressing and soul destroying in many ways. Now to be fair, the blame can't really be blamed on the show's creators. The finale episode had already been shot with intentions of continuing for another season, but the studio Universal had decided against it and had cut the show, so in the end they had to reshoot the ending so it was really against the creators' wishes to carry on. Now, certain reasons were very faint, but it was ultimately decided that the ratings were in some decline, and have been supposed rumours of an alternate ending somewhere on social media, but overall I just feel that the fans of the show deserved a far more happier ending. But despite all of this, it doesn't detract from what is still for me a truly great, entertaining, multifaceted series with many multiple themes, which makes it so much more than just a science fiction show. And when we look back on Quantum Leap, it actually does provide some pause for thought. For if it was released in today's culture, how would the show be received now? Would it be considered woke and agenda driven given the diverse themes that it covers? And this is very much a dilemma that is faced in the new reboot series. But for now, we reflect on the original series, which ran from 1989 to 1993, ending its run overall with 97 episodes, very much developing an affectionate, loyal cult following over the decades, many years after its overall release. Overall containing much heart and goodwill and nature and drama, and very much soul, alongside great performances and chemistry from Dean Stokwell and Scott Bakuka. It's amongst many reasons why Quantum Leap still remains one of the greatest television series ever made 30 years on after its overall release. So those are my overall thoughts and feelings and reflection on the original series of Quantum Leap. Let me know what you think in the comments below. If you watched it, where do you think it ranks amongst the pantheon of great television series? How do you think the reboot will compare? Do you think it's got any chance of standing up in comparison, or do you think it will be another failed continuation of an iconic series like we've seen so often in the last 5 to 10 years? Is there any possibility that it could achieve the great heights of what we've seen in Cobra Kai and actually surpassing the original source material? Let me know what you think in the comments below. And if you have any other suggestions regarding television series or movies or any other topics that you'd like to see me cover within this channel, then let me know within the comments and I'll see if I can provide far more commentary on that topic for you within the future within the channel. Please also hit and like the subscription and notification buttons so I can provide you with more high quality content like this in the future. But that's it for now. Take care of yourselves and I will see you very, very soon.